The Right Side with Doug Billings.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Doug Billings here, The Right Side. Thank you very much for watching. Kansas has just shown the rest of the country how it's done, protecting women's and girls' rights. Senate Bill 244 is now law in Kansas. Congratulations. Biological sex defines bathroom usage, locker rooms, changing areas in every public school and every government building in the state. Parents are cheering, and the left is in the midst of a collective meltdown. Look, it is mind-numbing that we are even having this debate about biological sex and bathroom use in this state and in this country. It's ridiculous. The radical liberal movement in America, who projected fake science on us, is now saying that biological science is apparently up for debate, and that only whatever you feel your gender may be is what it should be. So right in the middle of this victory, we have a debate in this country about one of the most significant cultural issues of our time, the issue of the transgender movement. And we have a rumor out there that a candidate running for governor, that they may have a transgender child. So I want to speak about that the same way that I always do, straight, honest, and without apology. Ladies and gentlemen, a candidate's personal family situation is private. Every parent loves their child, and every parent wants what's best for their son or their daughter. No one on this show, no one in conservative America is interested in attacking families or turning personal pain into political ammunition. Now, there are conversations that we can have about the general issue that we have to be very real about. When someone is asking to be governor of Kansas, the person who will set policy for every public school, every girls' sports team, every locker room, every single child in the state, the voters have an absolute right to know exactly where the candidate stands on the most important cultural issue facing our children today. And the question is not about their child, the candidate's child. The question is about policy, and it's about courage. It's about whether they'll fight as hard for every other Kansas child as the legislature just fought with SB 244. And the issue has become one of the ultimate tests of leadership for any governor in America, in any state in 2026. And the standard has got to be the same everywhere, no exceptions, no special cases, no hedging. The radical liberal attack on biology and the science of there being only two genders is one of the most important cultural issues that we're facing, period. That's not an opinion, that's a matter of fact. And here's the truth that has got to be said plainly. Transgenderism, ladies and gentlemen, is a myth. It does not exist. It represents a mental illness, and it's got to be addressed as such. That's how we help those who claim to be trans. That is not hate. That is compassion. That is rooted in biology. It's rooted in science. And it's rooted in heartbreaking stories of thousands of people who have detransitioned, who were rushed into irreversible changes. Schools, ladies and gentlemen, have become the epicenter of this social contagion. Teachers and counselors are encouraging secret social transitions, new names and pronouns, and all while hiding that from parents. Boys are being allowed into girls' restrooms, locker rooms, and sports. And the affirmation only model, yes, affirmation, we just need to affirm this person. Well, that model is being pushed before kids are old enough to drive a car, before they even understand the lifelong consequences of what those decisions really mean. And it's got to stop, and it will stop with real leadership. So if I were governor of Kansas or any other state, here's exactly what I would do on day one. No hesitation, no compromise, and I would work with the attorney general and the legislature to make real and binding changes for conservatism and values. I would use executive power whenever I could. And first, I would immediately sign an executive order directing every state agency and every public school within the power of the governor to define sex strictly by biological reality at birth. No exceptions for self-identification, no affirmation policies. State funding would then be tied directly to compliance with that order. And if you violate, SB 244 in Kansas or wherever, or similar protections, you'll lose your money from the state, period. The second thing I would do is sign an executive order directing the Kansas Highway Patrol and the Kansas National Guard to hunt down the monsters responsible for child and human trafficking. Ladies and gentlemen, it happens in every zip code in the state, every zip code in the country. It is an epidemic that must be rooted out. And then I would also direct the Highway Patrol and the Kansas National Guard to work with ICE to help to remove every illegal immigrant. Third, I would immediately move to strip curriculum decisions away from the Kansas Board of Education and return them to parents and to school boards at the county level so that parents can once again be in control of what their children are learning in school. No more from the top down indoctrination. Parents and locally elected school boards will decide what is best for our kids to learn. The fourth thing I would do is call a special legislative session, if it's needed, to pass the strongest possible ban on puberty blockers, cross-sex hormone therapy, and any surgeries that would transform or attempt to transform one human being into another gender of anyone under the age of 18. I would direct the state medical board to investigate and discipline any doctor or any clinic still pushing those experimental, barbaric, medieval treatments on children. And the fifth thing I do is I would sign a comprehensive Parents' Bill of Rights that every school must follow. Mandatory notification the moment any school employee even discusses social transition, pronouns, gender confusion with a child. Parents would have the explicit legal right to sue any school that hides information about their son or daughter. Number 6, I would personally meet with Elon Musk, and I would invite him to consider building a SpaceX manufacturing plant in Wichita, creating thousands of high-paying jobs, high-tech jobs, engineering jobs right here in Kansas. 7th, I would sit down with President Trump, and I would ask him to give Kansas a Space Force base in Kansas to secure our future in space and bring even more good jobs to the state. The 8th thing I would pursue, all within the first day or weeks of my governorship, I would work with the Kansas Right to Life officials and county elected leaders to ask the legislature to draft a heartbeat law, protecting unborn life as soon as a heartbeat is detected, and I would work diligently to get us to a point where all abortions are illegal in Kansas at the moment of conception. We have a radically liberal Supreme Court to deal with. The Kansas Supreme Court is, in many ways, more liberal than that of the one in California. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, and there are more things, but this item number 9 on my list, I would begin to work immediately to review every angle possible to get Kansas out of this Kansas City Chiefs relocation deal that forces Kansas taxpayers to subsidize a stadium. with their money about which they had no say, no vote. Look, ladies and gentlemen, these are not extreme ideas. These are the bare minimum that any governor who claims to be conservative must deliver. And they must say that they will pursue these. We have got overwhelming evidence that this gender affirming nonsense and the rush to it are harmful. Sweden, Finland, the United Kingdom, and Norway all sharply have restricted or banned these interventions for minors. Their own reviews have found that the science was weak and the risks were devastating to these kids. And here in America, we have more than 40 hospitals, including the NYU Langone Hospital, just this week, have paused or shut down their transgender programs because the damage is becoming too impossible to ignore. The compassionate, evidence-based science answer is simple. Mental health care for these people first. Real therapy that gets to the root causes, whatever it may be, anxiety, depression, trauma, autism, peer pressure, the toxic influence of social media, and give kids a chance to grow up naturally instead of chemically or surgically altering their healthy bodies. Anyone who disagrees with this, ladies and gentlemen, is either vastly intellectually immature or part of a partisan liberal agenda to inflict purposeful chaos and harm on us and our children. Any governor who can't make this full commitment to these things, regardless of family personal circumstances, is not ready to lead the state. No governor candidate is perfect. Some governor candidates have made incredible mistakes in their private and personal life and in their corporate lives. As it turns out, Kansans and Americans are big fans of second chances, and they want overachievers. They want people to overcome the past, and they realize that the past, in certain and real perspectives, cannot prevent anybody from achieving wonder, joy, and meaning and the best possible version of themselves ever. Kansans love a comeback. They love people who have overcome challenge, adversity, and tragedy. That's what conservatism is all about. We're not the party of free stuff and entitlements. We are the party who overcomes mistakes, who realizes mistakes, and who wins regardless of them. Voters deserve a clear, unambiguous answer in every debate, every interview, in every town hall, and the debates should be open to all of the candidates without having to pay off any GOP group. I will protect every child with biological truth and parental rights. Full stop. Personal situations can and should be met with prayer and compassion. But public policy has got to protect the millions of other children who deserve safe spaces, fair sports, and truth instead of ideology. You need a bold governor, unapologetic, a populist, a political outsider, and it doesn't have to be somebody who's owned or founded a multi-billion-dollar business. Doesn't have to be that at all. It needs to be somebody who can look you in the eye and speak with passion, charisma, and boldness without having to depend on a script or a note card. And who can reassure you that he will work for every child and to curb this most dangerous issue in our culture of the myth of transgenderism. And parents, you are not alone. Your instincts are correct. The science is catching up with the liberals. And the tide is turning in this country and in this state. A strong, fearless leader on this issue is exactly what the heartland is demanding. If you believe that we've got to protect our kids with truth and courage, do me a favor and hit the like button. Share this clip. Share it wide and far. Head over to YouTube and follow my channel there, at The Right Side Doug Billings. You'll find about 156,000 other people who have subscribed, and it's free to get more information and stay informed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in this thing together. We believe it. For Kansas, for the Republic, for each other. God bless you. Good night.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show, Doug Billings. Hey, my good friends at EMP Shield, that's electromagnetic pulse, in case you're from Raytown, Missouri. Electromagnetic pulse could wipe out your home electrical system, could wipe out your vehicle. And thanks to the radical liberal agenda that was put forth under Administrator Biden and Vice Pretender Harris, there are lots of people in this country who want to do us harm. And maybe an EMP device would be their chosen weapon. But EMP Shield gives you a device that can protect you. This little baby here goes on your home outlets, a computer, a router, whatever you want to protect. And then they also have a larger model like this. You can still hold it in the palm of your hand that goes on your vehicle battery so that you can get out of trouble from point A to point B. EMPshield.com. Promo code Doug, ladies and gentlemen. Save yourself. Save your property. EMPshield.com. Promo code Doug. We're in this together, folks. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.